Hi, this is Courtney. Thank you for joining me again to see this scrapbook page I did. I did it at a recent retreat. There was a couple of challenges that they put forward for us, and I thought this would be a great time to feature this project that I had planned in my head, but that was about it. The designer series paper I'm using is from the August to December handmade catalogue for you from Stampin' Up! In 2020. It's the Most Wonderful Time product medley. I really love the designer series paper in it. It's got black, basic black, gold foil, old olive, real red, and of course white in it. So you can sort of bring that in any way you like. That particular stripe pieces were great. This is a little 6x6 pack, so you can't often get the pictures or the print, for whatever better way, to run together. But when you've got lines, you can't really go too wrong with those. You can see at the top of my screen, there's the little challenge piece that we had. We've been playing with I think it's on Snapchat. I don't know, one of the kids introduced me to it. We've been playing with the filters, so I decided to showcase some of the photos. So I used all different bits of designer series paper from the same pack, chopped them up to try and make it look a bit like my sketch. So gotta love these speedy videos. It just sort of makes it. Otherwise, this would have been over 3 hours. This this page. I'll just sort of quickly whip past here to my title. Now, I did use some chipboard elements that I had for my title, but from some of the words that we can actually cut out for our using our cut and emboss. If you want them a bit thicker, a lot of the scrapbook people in the scrapbooking world know of thickers. Well, we don't have thickers, but if you want thickers, you can actually make something similar yourself. So I've literally cut out 3 of the word Christmas, and I'm gluing it together. Okay. And you've got to hold your tongue right when you're doing that, of course, otherwise the multi-purpose glue gets absolutely everywhere. And I do find with this glue, less is best. The only thing you'll find, this is time consuming. So although I've sped the video up 20 times, whatever the speed it could go at, it still feels like it just took forever. Another way that you can do it, if you've got some thin chipboard, you can cut the thin chipboard out, and that'll actually give you the same sort of effect, for want of a better way of putting it. Okay, so there's my word Christmas. All done, including the little dot on the eye, which I was very careful not to lose. So I not only used the fonts that we had, it's like Stampin' Up! Fonts, I also made the most of the fact that I was crafting with friends and they had some really cool tools as well. So you'll see that there's also the word filter on there, and that's actually just using one of a different set of dies. Okay, so because I wanted to place that first, then I could put everything around it. Tiniest little dot. I love the take your pick tools. Everyone got one of those. It just makes things so much easier to place them wherever I want them. Yeah, it's funny. I like using my tools. I like using all my bits and pieces, but I also like borrowing other people's. Okay. Getting these photos was lots of fun. I don't know about you, but I have great trouble picking which photos I'm going to scrap. I've got the 3 girls, there's myself and my husband. I very rarely scrap myself, but I'm always scrapping the kids. I guess that's just because they're the easiest. I take heaps of photos. I'm very rarely in them. I get a few photos of my husband. I've started taking more selfies and things like that. But at Christmas, we try and get as many photos as possible. I like the memories that, it's nice to look back. The girls like it when I do their pages, when I go away for weekends, like this particular weekend. I had a couple of pages up on the wall of my youngest, and all my friends kept going, well, you've done 2 or 3 pages of Tara, you're going to have to even it up. And then I started scrapping Christmas photos, and Christmas photos have just about everybody in them. Now you'll notice there, those trees, I stamped them earlier. They're actually from the Coordinating Most Wonderful Time stamp set. I like to do things like that. I don't know if you were watching, well, you probably were, but they're all different colours, and that's only because I was stamping off. This is the other thing I like to do. My friends will know me as a bit stingy when it comes to, well, frugal's a nice word, I don't mind frugal. So I'm actually flogging that piece from the inside of my Real Red cardstock so that I can use it elsewhere, so that I don't have heaps and heaps of thickness, and I'm just going to pop my Whisper White on top of it. The other thing I do, and I've always done this, I learnt this very early in the piece, is I use my Tear It tape, and I've popped it on all four sides, and then you'll notice I'll only pick a little bit of it off, because there's nothing worse than crooked pages. I have a straight eye most of the time. I'll quite frequently do things very deliberately really crooked, but when it comes to framing the page or framing a card or anything like that, I get really neurotic. So you'll see I'm just pulling out a little bit of the corner off. I know it's off the screen a bit, but you'll see it better when I don't do the bottom one, but you can see it up the top. So I've just pulled little bits off. Now, sometimes when you're pulling them out, you have to be careful, because sometimes they tear, and you end up with the backing staying on there. So I do this standing up because it's easier to see. You can line it up on the bits that still have the tape protector on it, because they're slippery. Stick down my other bits. Now, did you notice how that actually tore? Well, it didn't go all the way. You just do have to do it a little bit slower, and then you can just pull on all four of your tabs and your piece is stuck down, and it's pretty accurate. Now, I've used 6x6 Designer Series paper, which when you're scrapping a 12x12 piece can be quite of a challenge. A lot of Designer Series paper, the pattern doesn't match with the other three pieces to make a 12x12, hence I used the stripes. I couldn't really get any of the other pieces to work for what I wanted to do, but that's okay. So, and I was still working on that little sketch that we had. You'll get to see it every now and then. And I like to fluff around with bits, so yeah, pull this bit on, put that bit off. This page actually took me hours, hence I've sped it up. There is no way you wanted to sit there and watch me scrap for hours. I'm also not the fastest scrapper, so, you know, that doesn't help. And I do what I just did then. I put stuff on, like where I see it, move it off. Then I'll actually adhere the other stuff, and yeah. Multi-purpose glue is slippery, so when I need things with a little bit of slip, I'll use it, because it has, I don't know, wiggle room is what I like to say. So wiggle room is to my advantage. So I'll smooth it out, put it down, and then let's line up the other word. You'll see I've got, I think when we went to school they called a square ruler. I could be very wrong. It works out well for me. But there's my word filter. Decided to do some chopping and changing so that it didn't have to put up with things for so long. I pulled out some words from another set. That's the beauty about being a demonstrator. I've usually got heaps of sets up my sleeve, so I can get just about any title out of them. And if not, I can at least get an alphabet to make some. So, so I'm just snipping. I've printed the word fun onto that and stamped the word fun. I'm just on a piece of scrap, and then I'll just snip it down so that it's there, and you'll see I end up putting it on a piece of black just to outline it and stick it on my page with a dimensional. It was fun. The kids had heaps of fun playing with the filters. I could probably scrap 100 pages, but I won't. So I just wanted one of each of the girls because they were really quite cute. I think Messenger does the similar sorts of filters and whatnot, and the girls are really good at saving them for me. So yeah. I just use my snips. If you don't have a pair of our snips, I can strongly advise getting them. They are super sharp. I've got a pair that I keep just for ribbon, just because they're super sharp, and of course paper blunts your scissors quite quickly. That's the order I'm going to place them in. They're not in the right sort of order, but that's okay. My big one's at the front. And notice that my trees didn't stick out. Let's see how we go. I'm just going to add extra trees just so that I can get a bit of the effect that I'm looking for. Stamping them off just so they're all a variety of colour, and then we'll start to stick down. It's a bit of a messy technique when you're doing it on a scrap page, but it worked. It was very effective. Makes some of those trees look like they're off in the distance. We only need a little bit of tree, just to put a little bit of colour. More liquid glue. Again, wiggle room. Wiggle room is good. I don't know about you guys, but do you all have your favourite adhesive? I would have to say multi-purpose adhesive is my favourite. Out of all of the ones that we offer, I like it because it goes a long way. I actually store it. It's got two ends. There is a pointy end and a fat end, for want of a better word. The fat end has got like a bit of a squeegee on it so that you can smooth it out. I always say less is best. When I'm doing classes, I always say with that glue, less is best. I store it pointy end down. I've got a little container that I had a friend get for me that's been 3D printed. And yeah, so it's always point down so that way I can get the most out of it. And then when it's near the end, if I'm doing a bulk, I've got a whole heap of them. I just store them all in a Tupperware container because I love fantastic plastic, I call it. And when I've got a bulk order of cards that I'm making or for someone or anything like that, what I do is I actually chop off the fatter end, and I can use a toothpick or a paddle pop stick to get as much of that adhesive out as possible, because without fail some of it still sticks to up the walls of it and whatnot. So you'll notice there what I've done with my dimensionals, I've used the sides and the edges of that packet, and I save those, and I do that whenever I put my photos down. I'll often use those, especially for smaller photos. If the photos are larger, I'll cut up the bits of, if you've seen any of my other videos, I cut up bits of the backing board, the chipboard that comes with our glimmer paper or our foils, because it's quite thick. So I can cut like another piece of that so that the photo doesn't sag in the middle. But I usually try and be relatively generous with the dimensionals. And see how I didn't put any in that bottom corner? There's a reason for that, and that's because that one that's got Maeve on the photo with my brother-in-law, it's already popped, so she doesn't need dimensionals under there. It would actually make it crooked. So I had to make sure that when I was doing it, I ended up in the right spot. And that's going to be perfect. Okay. I'm also a very messy scrapper. You'll notice that my desk is quite frequently got lots and lots of high quality good stuff all over it. I really like these. You'll notice there's a couple of little things I'm doing there along the way. I stuck that on my hand. I then stuck it on my jeans. It didn't work, so now I've just got an embossing buddy, which I'm afraid we no longer stock, but you can get them. You can make your own with a little bit of corn flour and some calico. They're really good for de-sticking stuff. So I've made it so that sticker is no longer a sticker just by doing that. So I'm just placing all of these bits. Those little parcels and presents are actually out of, they're stamped, but there is a sheet of Designer Series paper that has those on it, so I have cut some of them out. They do need to be fussy cut. The stamped ones have don't know what happened there. I think we must have had a storm. We did have a storm that weekend when I made this page. The little ones that are stamped actually have a die that will cut them out for you. So I just stamped a whole heap and cut them all in different colours. But then I also cut some out of the Designer Series paper just so that I had a bit more variety, because they're really pretty, and those ones had gold on them. And I'm just pulling some more bits out. Bit more of my embossing buddy to unsticky. Just buys me a bit of time, and it makes it so that I mean they end up stuck down, but I stick them down with glue instead. Okay. gave me choice. Okay. This pack, there's so many different elements in it. You could scrap heaps, there's heaps of different things that you can do with it. I've made heaps of cards, and I've also made, I've made this scrapbook page, and I've actually made some other ones. So I've made little boxes. The little boxes are on one of my other posts on my blog. I didn't actually take a film of when I was making them, which is a bit of a shame, but you know, it is what it is. And yeah, so it's a really good pack. It's currently, it'll be retiring with this catalogue, and it's currently on special as this goes to air. And some markets may not even have this set still available. So there is also a refill kit if you don't want the stamp set and don't want the die set. There is a refill kit. It's where you just get the paper elements. There's also design series paper. There's some stickers. There's some really pretty tinsel twine, which isn't going to be featured on this page because I ran out when I was making some other goodies. And there's some gold stars so in there as well. So you get quite a lot of stuff, and I like a lot of bang for my buck. So, and I like things that can be used for variety. Plus, I'm a bit of a fiddle bum when it comes to putting stuff onto my pages, as you may have been noticing. So, you know, a little bit about me. I've been scrapping for quite some time. I haven't always just used Stampin' Up! Products. When I go away with my girlfriends, who I've actually been going away with these girls for over 12 years scrapping, we all share. We share products, we share tools, we share elements. We set up challenges for each other. This one here was, as you saw, a challenge. We had 5 challenges that weekend, and it was Halloween weekend. If you did the 5 challenges, you got a little prize. So, you know, it was lots of fun, and it's always way more fun to scrap with a friend. You get, I don't know, you get inspiration from them. It's just nice to hang out with them. I really enjoy it. I don't get a lot done, I will say. That's why this page took so long. It took me over 3 hours to do just the one page, and I had a sheet like there was more or less a recipe telling me what to do, and it still took me forever, but it was lots of fun. And then we stick them all up on the wall behind us when we've done, and you know, you've got the most pages done. What elements do we like of each other's pages? This time we also downloaded a whole heap of the challenges from the internet, so that we actually, if we wanted to just keep doing challenges, we could. We decided that actually didn't make it too hard. It made it quite easy to do other people's challenges, so you know, color challenges, and it's provided a bit of variety. One of the girls that we scrap with is actually on numerous design teams, so for quite a few different companies. So she was doing a lot of her work at them, so we got a few sneak peeks and little stuff like that. They all got to have a bit of a sneak peek of some of our things because I had all of my stuff there with me. I don't know about you, but I always take way too much stuff. So, but you know, don't we all? One of my girlfriends is so good at packing that she takes everything's already in she makes up her own kits, for want of a better way of putting it. Everything's already set, and she just pulls them out, does the page, nothing left, very little left over in her kit that she's made, and then she moves on to the next one, and she knocks out about 12 pages in the weekend, and I did 4. But I also made some cards and stuff like that. One thing though, I like to fiddle with my pages. I guess that's probably why it takes me so long to do them all. And the girls think it's hilarious. It's like, stop, that's one thing you've done. Stop there and take one thing off. And I'm like, yeah, no, just stick a bit of this on. These are some of the more of the stickers. I really love the little stars, but I've got plans for those. So, but the little berries and stuff, I don't know, they just made it a little bit of fun. They're pretty on cards, they're pretty on 3D items, but they needed to come out onto this as well. You know, the girls really love this. I send them through photos. Just, what have you made today, Mum? You know, have we seen it? Can we see anything? You know, I'm like, oh gosh, I haven't really done much. My gosh, better pull my finger out. But we went for walks on the beach each day, and we did fun stuff. You know, we all took turns in cooking and feeding each other. So, you know, it's not always just about the scrapping. Sometimes it's also about the company. And we always have enjoyed each other's company. We hire a big house. We all stay together for the weekend. We move out all of their furniture in their big room. So this time it was in the combined dining kitchen. We put in massive big trestle tables, and there was 10 of us that were there for the weekend, and which is good because we were supposed to go in March and didn't get to go. So it was nice to be able to actually get to go. So yeah. Now, as I said before, I'd run out of the gold that came with the Designer Series pack, so I just pinched some from one of the new ribbon packs, which worked quite nicely. Add a few stars. It's looking pretty sneak. So I liked it. I'm having a tendency to do a bit more white space these days, so I do like it. I actually think that the sketch was very effective, and although mine didn't end up in the same direction as the sketch, I'm okay with that. So we'll just stick a mini dimensional under that. Love having the minis. I'm wishing that I'd left my black ones at home, so I had to use some white ones, otherwise a black one would have been perfect. So for that little tiny bit there, but never mind. I don't know about you, but I make do a lot when I'm away because I can't take my whole craft room with me because I'd need like half a semi-trailer, but you know, it is what it is. Now, that's a little chipboard piece that I had. I don't know, scrapbookers have a lot of stuff. What I've done here, instead of, I'll often, if I want it shiny, I'll emboss it. And then I just put it in Versamark and actually put black embossing powder on it and emboss them. But I didn't want this shiny. Nothing else was shiny except for the gold, and I wanted to keep it that way because my gold stripes and my gold stars were shiny. So I've just coloured that with my Memento. Now, give you the heads up, let it dry. Otherwise you end up with fingerprints. So dates are important. I've learnt that the hard way. And I now double check all my dates because one year I put this massive big 2007 across the top of my page, and it was a 2008 photo. But you get that. So I peeled it off. Didn't look real crash hot. But that's an excuse to embellish a bit more, isn't it? Well, once again, thanks for joining me. I do have some other pages to show you. I'll get them sorted in the not too distant future. But here's how it turned out. If you want to hit the subscribe button below, you'll get to see more. I'll get those little bell notifications when I'm online or when I upload something else. And yeah, love to see you. Thanks. There's my page sitting in the Christmas tree.